Yo,
Hello.
welcome to...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the intro. Well, hello, everybody.
I was
Welcome
echoing
to
or something. I was like, what's going on here?
Hello,
This
everybody.
never happened to me before. Yeah, what's
Welcome
going
to
on?
the-
Welcome to the NS9 Postgame Show. Of course, I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we got Connor. Connor, we have a Pirates loss to talk about, but I think there's some positives to definitely discuss, along with some negatives in this show. But yeah, Pirates lose today 5-6 to the Atlanta Braves. Once again, Quinn Priester started. Quinn Priester didn't look great, but the Pirates were like still in it and had a lead at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been impressed with Quinn. I
apologize. They never had a lead. They just tied it up. It
Oh,
hit me when I
right.
said that. I was like, wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Harris
did.
tied.
That was what the pause was
No.
for. I was checking mentally to see if did they.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I wasn't really. I mean, I was impressed by like he limited the Braves to scoring just 4 off of him, right? He only went
that's
4
fair.
like for Priester. I think that was impressive against like a historically good offense. For him, I think he got a little lucky with some timely ground balls here and there. But I mean, I'm not impressed. I'm just like, if that's what you can get out of Priester against the Braves, I think you take that. You'd preferably like you'd want more innings, but especially with the situation this team is in, where their bullpen is just really taxed.
Right. No, I feel like that's a way of looking at it, and you certainly can. I guess I kind of look at it this way. I mean, yes, like the Braves are obviously an elite offense. So the fact that Quinn Priester, a rookie, gave up just 4 earned and was enough to keep this team in the game, per se, like you can look at that one way. But I guess I'm kind of looking at it as if he was performing well, and this was the game that he looked and had 4 innings pitched and 9 hits and 4 earned against the Braves, you say, well, it was the Braves. It's fine. But to me, it's just like it's more of the same struggles, more of the same issues. He is lucky that it was 4 against the Braves. It's kind of take away from this. But I mean, I guess at one sense, the velocity was like a hair higher, where he was averaging like 93 today, opposed to like 92. If again you want to take a positive, but I mean, he's just getting hit too often, too hard on his fastball.
Yep.
He threw the curveball. Yep. He threw the slider. They were good, but that fastball, like, you just can't live.
No, you can't. No, it's too flat and it's too low velocity to get by in this league. You can't get by on breaking stuff. I mean, relievers can do it maybe, but as a starting pitcher, you can't live with a fastball that poor.
Correct. But for real, like, it's just I don't want to go down the route of like I'm worried about Quinn Priester, but like this.
I've been worried about Quinn Priester, because I've looked at that fastball for a while, and I'm just he's that can't be the pitch he uses to have long-term success. It can't be.
But like at the same time, the struggles is like with the velocity, and just like with everyone else, like where's his velocity go? Like, I don't know. Like the one thing is when he started incorporating the 2-seamer, I got a little more optimistic about him as a prospect. But again, like now he's throwing 92, 93. If he was throwing 95, 96, like he probably should be and can be doing, he's probably having a little bit better performance, and I feel a little bit better about him. But anyways,
it's just like the same old tired song of just like, what are these development people teaching? What are they doing? Because we're seeing regression in a lot of different places with a lot of different players, across. And not just like, oh, he's slightly worse, but just, going from 98 professionally to throwing 92 in the majors is significant.
Right.
That's kind of a problem. And it was a problem for Rowe. It was a problem for Luis to a lesser extent. It's been a problem.
Right. No, I agree. And like as Mark says here, against this lineup, how can you complain about Quinn? And it's again like it's what
I don't think he can.
started
I
out
don't
with.
think he really can specifically complain about this performance, but it's just, you know, the larger trends.
Right. Right. So again, like today, going against the Braves, giving up 4, he kept the team in it. But again, I'm just seeing the same struggles we've been seeing so far all year. Now, granted, you know, we jokingly said before, like the Pirates won 3 out of his 4 starts, and he had an 8 whatever ERA it was at the time.
Right.
Today it's still at 8.75, and right, like the Pirates were that close to winning 4 of his 5 starts, as Quinn Priester almost has a 9 ERA for the season.
And if you're only getting
today,
4 innings out of him a start, right, that's basically a bullpen day. And the Pirates have, and Osvaldo Bido was a bullpen day, essentially. Now, I mean, I don't know that they're gonna just roll with just legitimately straight bullpen days. I think they're gonna bring somebody else there. They just wanted an extra bullpen arm for this Brave series, I feel like.
right.
So somebody's gonna be here for that for the time Bito's previous spot comes. It might be Bito again, honestly. But
We'll
it legitimately could. I would not be shocked. But you can't, as a staff, you can't go like 3 months of your season just having 2 bullpen days in your rotation. It's just not, it's not feasible. You know,
right.
You're putting too much strain on everything else because everything just has to go perfectly for you to win games, not to mention the stress it puts on your bullpen, which is questionable at best. And sure. I think you've seen that. You've seen the strain on the bullpen in recent days, especially with Bednar. Especially with Bednar.
Yeah. Yep. But granted, and again, you know, this isn't to harp on Quinn Priester today. It's just, again, to talk and discuss that, you know, you're definitely seeing a trend now with his 5th start. Much of the same issues. The curveball wasn't incorporated too much, but I think a little bit more today. It looked pretty good. The slider he threw, just his slider and was it the 2-seam or the 2-seam and the slider he threw the most today. But yeah, again, Quinn Priester, the velocity being down just kind of worries me. But again, that's what we've been talking about with most of the prospects to come up to this point of this year,
except for Jared Jones, who seemingly keeps just adding.
But he's not here yet.
Yeah, Oscar Marine hasn't gotten a look at him in person yet, right?
Right. So, you know, when that time comes, we'll be talking about his velocity and where it's gone and why he gave up 8 runs in his debut. But anyways, after that, again, not to harp too much on Quinn Priester, but he does go 4, gives up 4 earned. The offense, I'm not going to say it came alive, but it was adequate today. What I want to say that definitely came alive and who's been hot since his return is Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ke'Bryan Hayes had 3 hits today, went 3 for 5 with a big home run that bounced off the wall, went over. I know I gave my 2 cents about Ke'Bryan Hayes leading off, but again, he does go 3 for 5 today.
Every time people complain about the lineup, they do good. Like the trend in the last week is just Shelton makes the most asinine decision in the world, and it just works out magically for no reason against all odds. It shouldn't be, but it does.
Right. And it's
especially because
I don't want to go too much down that road, but right, like the outcome doesn't validate the decision. When you have a 284 on base percentage,
right?
Probably not a leadoff guy. Probably not. But anyways,
especially
again, not to go down that path.
Well, I want to go down that path.
Okay.
Because I don't understand how they could see what getting O'Neal Cruz more at bats last year. Yeah, he was, you know, the speed made him more of like a, you know, stereotypical leadoff guy, maybe not the on-base skills at the time, but just getting him more at bats clearly helped him. So I don't understand why, if they're just going to put Josh Palacios with his sub 270 on base percentage at leadoff the majority of the times that he's starting games, why will they not put Endy or Peguero there to get them more at bats.
The thing about, and I actually brought this up in talking about the leadoff role. The thing about Cruz is it made sense for him because his struggles was the off-speed stuff. Putting him at leadoff, he would see better pitches. You're bringing the better version of Oneil Cruz out, right? You're putting him in a good situation because he's going to see better pitches. He's going to be a better player. When Jack Swinski was leading off, like that's not Jack's struggles. Jack has a great chase rate. We talk about that. Like he doesn't need to see better pitches to make him perform better. Kind of like with Brian Hayes. It's not as if he needs better pitches to see it. So it's not like putting these guys at the leadoff spot also makes them better to that degree.
Right. It's getting them. I really want to see Endy get more at bats. I really want to see Peguero get more at bats. Because especially, I would say the argument for Peguero is even greater to get him as many at bats as possible right now, because headed into next year, Oneil Cruz is going to be back at some point. That's, he's presumably, until he proves that he can't play shortstop, which I think, to start this year, he was a lot better. The footwork looked a lot cleaner. And assuming, I don't think they really expect any serious long-term ramifications from this injury. It didn't seem like there was a lot of ligaments that you would typically associate. He'll be fine. Hopefully. Yeah. This wasn't a Jason Kendall complete dislocation of the ankle. It wasn't that class of injury, thankfully. But as long as he continues to be adequate there, the only place you can really put any of these prospects coming through the system is second base. So I feel like you have to find out what Peguero is now.
Yeah,
there might
fair.
be,
I want to see
a little more
him.
runway with that in 2024, but with the amount of players that they have at middle infield positions, you gotta get him reps. You gotta.
Right. No, I get that. I definitely want to see him get more in that sense, and he's been performing and earning it. But I think I'm not going to call it like a situation in that sense, but you also kind of want to see what you have in Alika Williams. You kind of want to see Jared Triolo work the middle infield more, right? His versatility is what's going to earn him a spot on this team. Not just being an elite defender at third. He's going to also have to be a good defender at shortstop because he's going to have to be the backup shortstop. I mean, honestly, we've seen the run like you talked about. Nobody can play short. It's going to have to be Triolo, I would imagine. And then getting some, time at second. Well, yeah, I guess, or Alika, right? We talk about. So, like, you want to get them some at-bats as well as Peggy. But, at the same time, we're talking about Endy Rodriguez sat 4 out of 8 games. So, that can go everywhere.
Davis sat a lot this week. And I know people are upset with Davis right now. I know they are. Just calm down. Okay? I see it in chat.
He's learning on the fly.
They've put so much on that guy's plate between, they told him at the beginning of the year that he was a catcher. And then they said, oh, well, we want you to play right field some. And then he had a 160 WRC in the minor leagues. And then they're like, well, shit, we got to get you up to the majors because we need your bat right now. And it's getting to the point where we can't continue to keep you in the minor leagues and your service time is past. And so they just threw him at right at the major league level when he only had like a few hundred innings there ever, and he's still continuing to work on his catching game.
Have that many?
Did he even have that many? And he's still continuing to work on his catching game and doing everything that's associated with that. The pregame stuff, the strategy meetings. He's got a lot on his plate. And I can't remember if I wrote about this or not, but just from the offset, I really thought that he might struggle at first because he tries so much to pull the ball. He might struggle a little bit with right on, right off speed. And we've seen that. He's getting a little too anxious. He's trying to pull the ball a little too much, and he's having trouble with right on, off speed. And I think because everything that's been written about this guy says he is, he's got a good head on him. And I just think there's too much talent there to, get worried about him right now. I think I'm pretty confident he'll adjust.
Oh, for sure.
This was a guy who earned his call up to the major leagues after only 400 plate appearances. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
And
I
the calling
promise you,
card's
he'll
always
be
been the
fine.
bat. He's demolished it, and like his approach, we've seen everything. Like again, like I'm not with Penn marking him as a great hitter for his career, but at this point in time, I'm confident that he will be.
Yeah, he's going to be a major league player in some capacity.
Sure. And today, 1 for 4, had a big walk as well. Obviously, he made the last out, 3 pitches he saw. Swung at 2, saw the last one go by as a strike, which is questionable, but it was right there. You got to swing at that one. But,
and we saw he got badly fooled by 2 breaking pitches off speed because he's just not used to major league pitch sequencing, and he's trying to pull the ball a little too much, and he's having a problem with the off speed. That's fine. That's part of the process, especially for a guy who's had so few professional plate appearances. They weren't throwing this at him in college, and he's not too far removed from playing at Louisville.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. But like something I definitely want to talk about today. As mentioned, like Brian Hayes went 3 for 5. The offense came out a little bit. They had 10 hits in total, 2 walks, right? Andrew McCutcheon also had 2 hits today. Big hit in the 9th, 2 outs. He started like the rally. I mean, there's a chance for this team to win. Started with Kutch getting on base there, and then Rivas pitch hitting and getting on base as well before the Davis strikeout that we talked of. But I do want to talk a little bit about this series. I know like the Pirates are down 1-2, but honestly, the series has been pretty competitive.
I got to interrupt you. Sean, this isn't his fault. It's not his fault. They've asked him to do something that's unreasonable. They're asking the unreasonable of him. I can't emphasize this enough how sudden it was. He didn't have any work in right field, barely any, in the outfield at any position other than catcher before this coming into this season. Did he even have a professional inning outside of the catcher position coming into this year?
Well, last year he played outfield. I'm actually looking up right now just to get to
how much.
Because again, I know he hasn't had much, but last year he had 7 games. No, I'm sorry.
But it does matter.
Year,
I don't think if he were to be a catcher, you would also have to consider that he didn't. I was pretty confident. I was pretty confident.
I thought he had 1 or 2 games
he would only have like 1 or 2.
But anyways, he had in total this year he had 7 games in AA and 6 in AAA. So there you have it. Just barely over 100 innings. And heading into the majors this year. And right, I mean, that's been the issue. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too deep on this for everyone that wants to complain about it too. Right, it's not his fault.
He's been bad.
He's been given a task to do. He's learning on the fly. Like if you put any of us at a new job and say, "Here, do this," we're all going to struggle because we're not trained to do it. And that's what he's doing. He's a catcher who's playing right field, learning how to do it in the major league level. You can't put these issues on him. You can just look at the talent and say, I believe that he could be an everyday right fielder. I do. I believe he can. He's athletic enough. We see that arm. He's going to be given the ability and time to learn it. He hasn't been afforded that. So, again, that is what it is, but I don't want to harp too much on that. Like I said, I do want to get back here because, yes, the Pirates are 1-2 so far in this series, but every game, like they've certainly been in it. They've been winning for a large portion of these games also. Today they lose, but like this has been a very competitive series. And again, we are talking about the best team in the NL, essentially. I mean, you can go back and forth if you want it to be. The Braves are stacked. So I've been impressed. I'll say that with what's happening so far in this series.
I mean, I'm not going to say impressed, but I am pleasantly surprised. That's how I'll put it.
Okay, that's fair.
I think Reynolds has been playing better. McCutcheon's been playing a lot better. And the team does well when your 2 best players play better than what they were.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like Indy's coming alive a little bit.
Indy's been. That's why it loops back to like I really want to see him get hit at leadoff when he is playing, because I just want him.
That.
I want him to get as many at bats as possible. Davis, I feel, needs it less. Peguero, you gotta to your point, you gotta work in Alika there. You gotta work in Triolo there a little bit. But when Endy's playing, if you're gonna play 280 on base guys there, you might as well put Endy.
Yeah, and I like his approach. I mean, he is a leadoff hitter. Hayes isn't, at least to this point right now. So I wouldn't mind that also. But again, like he is rookie and also get like not putting the pressure on him to a degree, but this lineup is filled with them also. Anyways, any rate. Yeah, like I have been. Like the pitching hasn't been terrible. Talk about pitching, and again, we talk about Q. Talk a little bit about Perdomo. I know he gave up a run today, but he had 4 strikeouts in 1.1 innings. He's been impressing me this year. I keep looking. I'm like, I still want to stay intrigued.
Yeah,
I don't know how long I want to stay. Like he's good. Like I don't know if I want to state he's good.
I'm looking for anything that tells me regression is coming. Right. I just keep looking for. I'm not really familiar. What's his left on base rate? Do you know off the top of your head?
75%, I think.
Okay, there's room for regression there. I'd say. Oh yeah, because that was the thing with him coming up from Indy, where it's just like he's not going to be good because his left on base rate is really unreasonable.
So it was 71.4 coming into today. Right now it's 69.8. So again, like it's not totally outrageous.
But I mean, he's as far as like the actual pitching goes, yeah, he's a good lefty out of the pen. The results
are way down.
The walks, yeah, that's what it is. I didn't even think about that. What was his walk rate in AAA?
It was okay, yeah. So in AAA this year, even 6.35.
Yeah, 6.35, and he's brought that down to 3.33.
Well, 3.16 after today, even.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the walks again, like that's to me, like Perdomo's just naturally, and we've talked about this, I feel like, all season. He has stuff, but like just has no idea where it's going. And that's just simply not true right now. He actually is pitching very effectively. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to hold on to that, but
hey, proof you can improve your control without sacrificing velocity, right?
I feel the shade there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
getting a little cloudy in here.
Are there. The walks are down. I'm to all the crap we give this bullpen. There's some guys that are kind of feeling their way through, and then you're finding some confidence in. I know we've been talking about Baraki for how long now?
Because if Angel Perdomo and Ryan Baraki were as bad as we expected them to be, this would be a disaster. I mean, it kind of is.
Right.
It kind of is, but it only kind of is because they've gotten some performance out of some unexpected places.
Yeah,
and because if Ryan Baraki and Angel Perdomo were awful, I mean, who would they even turn to? I mean, it would just be waiver claims.
Andre Jackson, baby, he's been perfect so far too. But
Andre Jackson's another guy. I'm really intrigued by him.
I am too,
because I don't know what I haven't looked at his line with the Dodgers since we got him, but I remember the walks being an issue.
Yeah. But anyway,
5.53.
Perdomo is certainly keeping me intrigued for sure. And then going down the line, Selby.
Okay, yeah.
Selby made
5.53 was his AAA walk number.
Selby made his first career strikeout today. He does go 1.2, 2 hits, walk, 3 strikeouts.
Selby
it was interesting. His first task was having to pitch to Acuna with a guy on second, and then he almost hit him.
So Selby's an interesting guy. He had Tommy John back in early 2020, I believe it was. After that, he transitioned to the pen, like pretty much full time. And since then, he's put up pretty decent results. The main problem with him, at least this season, is the walks are way up. He has really nasty stuff. High 90s fastball, good slider. It's just he just does not know where it's going.
He's been very inconsistent so far. And he was a guy coming into this year. I mean, you kind of looked at him to be part of this bullpen eventually, right? He probably wasn't going to start out in the majors. He could have, but probably wasn't going to. But be like that Yerry De Los Santos of last year, but hopefully even better than what Santos was last year. But anyways, the guy comes up and becomes a staple of your bullpen. He was very ineffective for the most part of this year, and he struggled. Does get the call right now, and yeah, I mean, there's certainly some intrigue with him as a bullpen player. But today again makes his debut. It was fine, and also again going against the Braves, the first guy he faces is Ronald Acuna Jr. So that's a tough task. Pretty much the guy who's going to be the MVP and have like a 40-70 season.
Yeah, he's pretty ridiculous.
Right. So there's that. Although I guess to rewind a little bit where we're talking and stuff about Acuna, Acuna has 2 strikeouts today, and that's Quinn struck him out twice. Quinn Priester struggled, but struck out Acuna twice. So there's that also.
Of course, he ended up with 3 hits. So
just going down the list, Majinski does come in, struggled a bit, an inning, 2 hits, 2 walks, the earned run. That's obviously what did it in. Braves get the victory. Not all his fault, but yeah, that did it in. And then Jose Hernandez comes in and pitches a scoreless inning, who also still Jose Hernandez looks good. So we're talking about the bullpen, and I am seeing some intriguing parts to this bullpen to this day.
Yeah, because these are the guys because this was how Neil Huntington did it. He just took guys off the scrap heap like Mark Melancon and just turned them into good relievers. The Pirates managed to get sub 2 ERAs, I think 2 different times out of Jared Hughes. How did they do that? These are the kinds of places that you can afford to do that on. It's pretty much the only place you can really do that on, that you can consistently turn scrap heap players into valuable pieces. So it's somewhat encouraging that they're managing to do that with Baraki and
Perdomo.
Perdomo. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. You're good.
Can you tell I'm checked out tonight?
But yeah, and like I said, Baraki's grown on me. Perdomo, I've been intrigued for some time now, and I'm waiting for it to implode, but it hasn't yet. And there's really nothing really showing me so far that it's going to. But yeah, so again, the bullpen for the most part, did its job again. It's the Braves lineup. They did what you pretty much asked for the task. And again, going back to the lineup, there was enough offense certainly to win this game. Just didn't turn out that way. To talk about it, right? I think the biggest turning point was that pop up. We talk about Jinx, but that pop up where Triolo got it, made the outs. Harris saw Triolo got it, who was still backing up as he caught the ball and took off for home. And initially was called out. It's called out because they said he, of course, tagged up too early. Went to replay, determined that wasn't the case. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of controversial because why is Triolo making that play and not Henry Davis, who has the arm? And like I said, if Davis even catches it, Harris probably doesn't even go, right? He's probably going back to third, seeing that Davis has the ball and that arm. So that was a crucial play in this game to take the L.
It was, and I think, we touched on, we already had the Henry Davis conversation, so we're not going to have that again. But that's part of the inexperience with him is, he's got to call off Triolo there.
Right. that's just how I looked at it. Like it
And
was not a good play.
I don't blame Triolo at all for it because he never got called off. He can't see Henry coming in, so he doesn't know where Henry is. Henry's got to call him off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It just goes to inexperience, and it's one of those plays where it's going to frustrate you.
Yep.
It just kind of is what it is at this point in time. It's like I'm not going to berate anyone for that play. It just sucks.
Yep.
That's just it is. It just sucks. Inexperience is a learning opportunity. You move forward from it. But that just is what it is at this point in time. That's where we're at. Like the young guys are here. They're learning. It's not as if it was some 10-year vet who's making that play, and you're like, well, this is why that was a dumb signing to begin with. Talent's there. The experience is going to come.
Can we talk about Jack Sawinski?
We can. It's kind of the same old though. It just is what it is. But he does go what 0 for what was today? 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts.
I'm getting really tired. There's nobody else. Because I don't even see how he fits in long term. Like I don't think this center field thing is gonna stick. I don't think this is his career position.
I agree.
With Reynolds and with Reynolds and Davis, you can't exactly put him in a corner. What are you going to do with him? You can't let, I know some people have brought up, well, if you let him go, well, he's going to succeed somewhere else. Well, you can't let fear of missing out, motivate you to play basically a shitty version of Joey Gallo. You can't let that, because that's what he's been, essentially.
Right. Well, I look at it this way. He's talented.
He's got a lot
of talent there too.
He's got a lot of traits that teams look at, right? Where it's just he hits the ball hard at an insane rate. His barrel numbers are good. He takes a lot of walks. It's just, I think the number one issue for him right now is just his approach is just, he does not swing the bat at anything that's not, in his wheelhouse. And even then, I don't know what he's doing.
Again, like the way I look at it, because I think Jim brought it up, you bring it up here too. I'm not opposed to trading him if you get something of value. Because like you mentioned, you have Davis, you have Reynolds. Maybe you find something, in free agency or whatnot. But like you get something of value if it makes sense, like sure. But I know he's very polarizing, right? Like people like really hate him or people really love him. And I'm just in between. Like he is what he is and he's struggling. And like, that's why I talk about, it's not to like just berate him and like how terrible he is and whatever, but just like the type of player that he presents, how do you truly value it? Because at the end of the year, when you look at the counting numbers, you look at the WAR and you say, well, he's a 3-WAR player and he had this OPS and that's good. But wasn't good for most of the time that he's in your lineup.
It's the same thing where like, if the Pirates end up at 72 wins this season, that's improvement, right? That's a 10-game improvement over last year. But it doesn't really feel like they improved that much, does it? At this point, because how they got there was so painful and so riddled with so much incompetency that it just it didn't feel like the step forward that warranted a 10-win improvement. And that's that's how it is with Sawinski, right? Where it's just you look at the final line and it's been going down hard recently. But you look at the line and it's like, all right.
8 hits in his last 75 plate appearances, by the way.
Yeah. I think he's hitting like 134 since the end of the All-Star break. It's bad. But you look at he still has like 116 WRC plus coming into today on the season. And you look at that and you go, okay, for a center fielder with middling to decent defensive metrics, that's fine. But you look at how he got there, and you watch him play in center, and you watch him hit, and you just watch him completely disappear for weeks or months at a time. And it's just agonizing.
Right.
He's just not producing anything on a consistent basis.
Well, that's the problem, is the consistency, and that's why I keep pounding. It's like what Jack is. I think it's like litmus test. Like he's telling us and showing us like how much do you actually value consistency. Like there needs to be a new analytic. It's X consistent or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like how much do you value consistency? Because someone who can give you the counting numbers at the end of the year, but like Jim highlights it, just kind of piggyback like what Jim was saying. Like of those 4 games he had multi home runs in, which is 4% of the season, I guess, apparently, something like that. Outside that, he's been awful. So do we need to really start valuing consistency more than what we do, And I think that's part of it. I mean, if you have a guy every day in your lineup and every single day outside of 2 or 3 games in that month, he hurts your team, but those 2 or 3 games he wins. Like he absolutely wins the game for you, right? Because he has 8 home runs. Like he goes off and has a McAdoo game last night, goes 6 for 6 and has 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. Like that's great, right? He single-handedly wins that game. But then for the next 27 days, he's a black hole in your lineup. So how do you value that when over the 28-day period, you look and say, well, he still actually was an okay player. So we're 36 minutes in. We've talked about Jack, through and through this year. But at any rate, he has talent. You have to make a decision of if you want to trade him, you have something of value, or you got to start developing these guys. And again, that's like one of my biggest gripes this year too, is like who internally that's part of your future has truly developed this year and progressed. There's certainly been a lot of regression, I feel. Jack has progressed, but the same struggles he had last year, he still has. He just walks more now. Is basically what we're coming down to.
The other problem is it's just like they don't have a center fielder anywhere close to the majors.
Mm-mm.
And I know people say Swags, but he wasn't it either.
And certainly won't be now.
No. Even health issues aside, he was not performing even when he was healthy.
Right. But at any rate, again, Pirates do go down today, but certainly all 3 games have been competitive. That's something to hang your hat on to with a young team, inexperienced team.
They're good losses, right? No losses good. And, what they've had recently have been, those are pretty excruciating losses, but I would categorize those as good losses. Yeah.
Right. We're frustrated in certain things like maybe decisions, but on the actual games and performances themselves right now, like I'm not really that frustrated. What I've seen these past 3 days have been, again, maybe like you said, maybe impressive isn't the exact word, but pleasantly surprised. Like they've been playing mostly good baseball.
Yeah.
But it's Atlanta Braves. But hey, there's still a game tomorrow.
Chance to split the series. Yeah.
Essentially split it. Right. And like I wouldn't be shocked again the way they have been playing so far. It's not like it would be shocking. Now it is going to be Elder versus Falter. Falter will make his second start for the Pirates this year. The first one was good enough for
Who's starting
victory.
For the Braves?
Elder.
Okay.
Who's been having a good season, but recently has struggled. But again, it is Falter also, who we've talked in length about the trade deadline and his opportunities. But at any rate, like we said, his last game out for the Pirates, he did enough. Like he pitched effectively enough to give the Pirates a victory. If he can just do that tomorrow and the offense comes alive again, I mean, the Pirates can have a chance to win. And if they can tie this series against the Braves, like that's an absolute win.
Yep.
All right. So, with that said, Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
Shelton sucks.
Don't. Where's Neil? We're gonna mute that. He can't hear that. On that note, then let's definitely get out of here. Appreciate everyone for watching. Tune in tomorrow. Cody and Neil will be on it. Oh, that's gonna get spicy.
Oh, I'm not gonna be around to see it. I'm gonna be traveling.
Yeah, so that might be the show to watch. Cody versus Neil. There'll be some Shelton discourse. Anyways, we're out of here. Appreciate y'all for watching. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.